Come in.
Hi, Dr. Ludlam. I'm Megan Rowell.
I'm Dave Doherty.
Nice
It's nice to
to
meet
meet
you.
you.
Hi, Dave. James Paulson.
James, very nice to meet you. Please have a seat.
Nice to meet you as well.
Here's my business card before we begin.
Yeah, and here's mine as well. So we're excited to be here. So Kevin couldn't be here today?
No, I made him go on the trip. I didn't want to go.
Oh. Well, it was a pleasure getting to meet him at the skeet shoot that we had last week. I was wondering, do you shoot guns as well?
Yeah, actually, he's helping me with that a little bit, but it's been a long time since I shot. We're actually footing up 2 teams in the next Baylor clay shoot. So
wow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
We're excited to hear that.
We have an all-girls team, by the way, too.
Really?
Yeah, we do.
I do like going out, so I might.
Are you a shooter?
I am.
You should come by. We'll probably have some of our executives there.
Okay, I can't promise I'll win, but I'd love to be there.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to put a team together and then we can have a little competition or something like that.
I think we're going to have our work cut out for us, actually.
Oh, really?
Sounds good. Well, before we begin, I just want to confirm that we have 15 minutes of your time today.
Yes.
Okay, and now when it comes to making a payroll decision, are you the sole decision maker?
No.
Okay.
I usually goes to the senior staff for administrative decisions, and there's a young lady by the name of Anita Cunningham who's our controller and our bookkeeper at the moment, and she does all the decisions regarding accounting.
Okay.
So I know that Kevin had mentioned that you're looking for a 30% growth over the next 2 years. In some of our previous work with Johnson Dental, we've been able to see that growth. What we want to do for you is be able to help you hit your target in terms of productivity. Does that sound like something you'd like to hear about today?
Yeah, how can you help me do that?
Well, I'd like to tell you about it, actually, and there's 3 ways we're going to do it. 3 things we want to talk about today is, number 1, we want to learn more about your process payroll right now. Second, we want to actually show you how we're going to do that through our Run mobile device.
Okay.
And then third, we want to look at the financials and how it can help you there as well. How do those three things sound to you?
Sounds like a good start.
Is there anything you would like to add to our agenda today?
No, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, in discussing that 30% growth in the next year, we were wondering, how do you see yourself doing that?
Mostly growth through market acquisition and adding people to support ramp for growth. So I think from an administrative standpoint, keeping our administrative costs down for payroll will be useful.
Is there anything else that you see standing in your way of reaching that goal?
Hiring the right people, so there's some HR factors involved.
Absolutely. It's always tricky. Now, what is your current payroll solution?
We use QuickBooks at the moment, and so it's a fairly low cost. We don't have any expensive software.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you how much you're currently spending per year on that?
Well, actually, we've already bought the software, so there's no cost for the software. We probably spend about an hour a month on payroll. We only have about 34 people at the moment, so it's a fairly low-cost activity for us.
Okay. How much was that software to purchase, if you don't mind
I
asking?
don't remember.
Okay. All right. Now, how satisfied are you with your current?
Very satisfied.
If you were to assign it a number, maybe 1 to 10, 10 being the most satisfaction you could get out of the solution?
Well, I never give anybody a perfect score, so
Okay.
it's going to be in the neighborhood of 8 to 9.
Okay.
We're pretty happy with it.
Okay. So if you could get that to a 10, we want you to have that perfect score. What would it take for your payroll system to change?
Fully automated system might be nice. I mean, in administrative issues, you want to balance the contentment of your administrative staff, right? So if they're relatively happy with the current solution, you probably don't want to be making any changes. So I don't know that there's anything I can help you with here.
Right. So I know you mentioned that it's a low cost. You already have like an 8 or a 9. What are some possible areas of improvement besides the low cost that you have in the admin? Maybe something like accuracy. Have you had any issues with that in the past?
Nope.
No problems.
No.
Okay.
One of the concerns that we do have is the accuracy of the systems moving forward. In other words, I've heard that you can have problems with getting the tax withholdings correct, those sorts of things.
Compliance
Yes.
issue.
Compliance issues might be an issue with some of the new Obamacare stuff coming up, but I don't know about that at the moment. So as we learn more about that, it might be an issue that we're going to need some help with.
Okay. What about updates? Do you have to purchase the new software updates and install them yourself?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a very very low end accounting system. So I've heard some of the other ones are fairly expensive. What about learning? I've heard that the learning curve on these systems can be kind of high. It can take a lot of time to learn them, and it's error prone. My contemporaries seem to think that that's the case.
So you're concerned about how user friendly the features are, and then how long it could take to learn?
Correct.
Okay. Well, we'd love to talk about that in our demo like I talked about. We'll actually go through it, and I'll provide a phone for you where you can actually work through it so you can see exactly how easy it is. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So you mentioned that low cost is something you're looking for, user-friendly, as well as something that's going to be easier for your staff to learn. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think that'll do it. What's stability like? I mean, this thing is going to crash on Friday afternoon. I mean, is it going to be a problem with that? What kind of uptime numbers do you have?
Right, so you're concerned about if it's crashing on a Friday where you're trying to get out of the office.
Exactly.
Right, I know exactly what you're talking about. We do have a support center that's open 24/7, so if you do have one of those situations arise, that fix is pretty easy to make.
You have reference accounts that can talk about how well the system is used?
I do have a testimonial that I brought for you today. I had mentioned earlier that we worked with Johnson Dental, and they actually talk about how they had a 35% increase in productivity. We have not experienced any malfunctions with their system, so they've been very, very impressed and satisfied with that aspect. Does that answer your question?
How big are these guys?
These guys are actually twice your size. They operate 100 employees over 4 different locations.
Texas-based?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
So
very cool.
They're exactly geographically located where you are, and then they're actually a little bit larger as well. But that doesn't take away from our service aspect. We service all of our customers. We run 150,000 with our ADP run, so we know exactly small business size from 5 to 10 employees, all the way up to 200-300 employees. So in that wide range, we service every single one of those customers.
Well, now that we've learned a little bit about Corset, we'd like to move on and tell you a little bit about ADP and why we think that a relationship between the two of us would be a good idea. We want to tell you 3 things. We want to tell you who, why, and how. We want to tell you who ADP is. We want to tell you why so many customers are choosing us, and how we can benefit Corset Holdings. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right.
So to talk about who we are, like Megan was saying, we are the #1 payroll provider in the world as far as ADP. We currently
Who are your competitors?
Excuse me?
Who are your competitors?
NetSuite is one of our competitors that we battle with. We deal with a lot of companies on that same size as well. Have you had run-ins with our competitors or previous meetings?
Nope, I was just curious.
Oh, okay. Going back to what I was saying, we have 570,000 customers, generating about $10 billion in revenues for them. Now, as far as our ADP Run mobile software, we operate about 150,000 customers, as I talked about earlier. So now to talk about the why. Why do customers choose our product over like the NetSuites like you were talking about? The way that we do this is we operate with the satisfaction guarantee like I talked about with Johnson Dental. And then another feature, we actually polled all of our customers, or a section of our customers, to find out what they like about our products, or our products the most. Number 1 of those is that it's an online real-time payroll. So you're mentioning earlier, it's 5 o'clock and you want to get out of the office. It's real-time, so it's updated. It sends that update as soon as it happens, so you're not sitting there trying to figure it out, trying to send that update. You're able to get out of the office 5 o'clock, maybe a little earlier if you're trying to get out and play some golf. So you're able to have that real-time payroll. The second option is the delivery of checks. That's an overnight feature that we have. So it's a speedy payroll process. And then third, you're allowed to do that direct deposit as well. Fourth, and this is probably the most important because I heard you mention it earlier, is our user-friendly ability. We're able to teach your employees as well as you as the administrator how to effectively and most powerfully use our ADP Run mobile software. How does that sound to you?
It sounds good. Tell me about the security on your mobile platform. I mean, I've heard that mobile platforms are relatively easy to hack.
So you're concerned about people being able to hack and change on the payroll?
A lot of personal information available here.
I completely understand where you're coming from. Have you ever used online banking or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. It's a lot of the same kind of features, the way that it's encoded, so that you're getting that 100% satisfaction of the security as well as the login. So every time you are logging on to use that software and make those changes, you're having to log in with a security password, much like how it's protected with online banking.
Do you think about the security protocols that they use in the system?
What, excuse me?
Security protocols that they use in the system. What kind of security? Do you know what they are off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I do not. However, we can bring that information back to you at our next meeting. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay. Now I'd like to talk to you about how we're actually going to run the software. So as I mentioned earlier, we've brought it for you so that you can get a quick snapshot to understand that user-friendly capability as we've talked about. So I'd like for you to actually go ahead and touch that and be able to maneuver the application. I'm going to do the demo with you so I can walk through it. Now I heard you mention earlier that the tax was something that you wanted to be able to work through and understand. So if you will go ahead and hit the top left over here and pay. As you can see, it has the pay statement as well as the tax statement in the top right if you want to go and click on that right there. So as you can see, it generates the accurate tax payment coming back. As you had mentioned, was probably going to be, or could be a potential problem for you. So it generates it and has it calculated for you. How does that sound?
Looks good.
Okay. And these are live updates that you will never have to update this software. It automatically goes out.
And these are available to systems administrators, basically?
Yes, sir.
Is there ever any need for the employees to look at their own files?
I don't believe there is for that specific. However, I mean, obviously, if you wanted them to, you could have that information available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then the second thing I want to talk about is if you want to go back to the home screen and then go ahead and click on timesheet, which is the bottom center. There you go. What this does is it allows your employees to be able to enter their timesheet manually. And then if you want to hit back real quick and go to the clock, which is just to the left, what this does is it ensures accuracy. I know a lot of employees sometimes will, punch in when they're not supposed to, or, they may show up and forget about it to go actually punch in at the clock. What this does is it's a simple solution to where they're able to punch in whenever they get to work, so it ensures the most accuracy so that you don't have someone manually entering that or somebody fudging the numbers. Do you see how that would provide value for your company?
So who enters this information, my administrator or my employees?
Your employees enter it, but at the end of the payroll period, it gets sent to you as the administrator.
So you can approve it?
Yes, and then you approve it, so you get to look at their hours and make sure they're not showing up at 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. or something like that, so you can make sure they're getting accounted.
This is actually pretty cool. I could give this to my my engineering manager. We've been trying to figure out how to track time for some of our help desk people, so that's actually pretty cool.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that you're excited about it. So that's exactly how we run the app and then are able to send it to the administrator, which is yourself or whoever, to ensure that there's total accuracy on that front.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to cover value, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
All right.
What's value?
Value is what you're getting for your money.
Okay.
It's the bottom line. All right, so we talked about initially, if you were to sign up, it would be 34 users. Is that correct?
At present.
Okay. Now, how many pay periods do you have per year?
It's bi-monthly, so we have 2 a month. So
24?
24, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So what this does is this is going to formulate, it's a formula between the price per payroll, which is, for the number of users, 34. That's $58.95 per payroll. And multiplying that by 24 and adding a one-time implementation fee of $150, your first year cost would come out to $1,000, $564.80.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is that number? You said that you have a relatively low-cost software right now. So what is this number? What do you think when you look at it?
Amount of time that it takes us to get payroll entered correctly and processed. So I'd basically be looking at $58.95 as an hourly rate for my accountant. So if my accountant costs me more than that, I save money. That make sense?
That's great.
Okay.
Yes. So, and we'd love to, like we said, it's so user friendly. The amount of time it takes is pretty much no time at all. Each person's responsible for their own timesheet, and it keeps people accountable, like we talked about with your engineers. So you could see this creating value for Corset.
As we grow, perhaps again, I need to pull Anita into the discussion, but it looks interesting.
So I believe ADP Run Mobile has the ability to transform, especially as you're growing. You had mentioned that you're going to have financial savings as well as that accuracy and the user-friendly capabilities if you're able to have ADP come alongside you. Now, I know that you had mentioned that Anita needs to be here for our next meeting to make a decision. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's going to have to be involved in any of the discussions moving forward.
Okay. Well, that works perfectly fine for us. Is there a time where we can meet with you?
Send me an email. We'll see if we can't get on a new schedule, and you'll probably be talking to her next time, however.
All right. Well, very good. Well, we'll talk to your secretary and see when your schedule's open, and then I'll be sure to follow up with you over email. How does that sound?
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
You're welcome. Very nice to meet you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys did well.
Thank you very much.
So we're done, right?
We are done.